Hey guys, this is the music theory portion of the videos that we've got on YouTube for the guitar class. Now I'm literally just going to go through the two sheets that are in your packet here that are for music theory. So we're going to start on the first one with the big music theory heading. Just so you know, I'm going to teach this stuff to you in the class, but or I have taught it to you depending on when you watch this video. But this is just so you can, you know, reinforce and hear it again, and just so you don't forget, because this stuff is important to know. Alright, so we'll just start at the top. So this first thing is half steps and whole steps. Basically, this is just it's just a way to understand music. These are terms that I'm going to be using as we get more and more complicated. Basically, a half step and a whole step. The step is just from one position to another. So like this is an A right here. So a half step is going to go up one fret like that, or from that A down a half step. It's just that right there, just back and forth, no matter where you do it. All that. Those are just half steps away from each other. But a whole step is two half steps. So you got, which is this. So you got half steps and whole steps. So that's what those are. Now we're getting into natural notes. Natural notes, or all of the notes that you can play in Western music, are A through G. You've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then back to A, just like the alphabet. There's no M, there's no Q, there's no Z, there's no any S or anything like that. It's just A through G and then back to A again. Alright, and then, but the distances between these notes is where the half steps and whole steps thing is important. Like this is an A, but then this is a B right here. You see how that's a whole step between those two? But going from B to C is a half step. B to C, A to B, and B to C. And so you want to memorize which ones are, and bass players have to know this, because all they play is notes, they don't play chords. Is you want to memorize which ones are the half steps between the two, because those are the fewest. So you've got B to C and E to F, and it says that on your thing. B to C and E to F, those are the half steps, and everything else is like A to B, for example. A to B has a note in between them, A and B, and we're going to get to those here in a second. Now those notes are called sharps and flats, and what a sharp means, like if you have a note that's sharp, it means that you've taken that note up a half step. So like A, an A sharp would be A sharp, and an A flat would be A flat. So then back to what I was saying, you've got A to B as a whole step, so the note between those would be an A sharp or a B flat. And this is one thing I don't really understand about music. I never really took music theory. I don't know why those needed two names, but why sharp, it's sharps and flats and not just one or the other. But anyways, nevertheless, it is. So A to B, the note in between them is an A sharp and a B flat, and it's the same pitch. The way to remember this is the movie The Goonies, and it's funny when they're all in that room, and I think her name's Andy is playing the piano, and she has to play the right notes to get them out. She's like, I don't remember if it's an A sharp or a B flat, and that's funny to me because it's the same note. I'm sure the writers knew that when they wrote the script, but anyways, that's a way to remember that. It's the same note. Alright, going on your list here, chromatic notes. Basically, so you have natural notes and chromatic notes. Naturals are just A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Chromatic notes are all of them. Chromatic is also a scale, but we'll talk about that later. So chromatic note, rather than just having E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and then all the way up to G, or E again, chromatic notes are all of them. So if you do like this, walking up all of the chromatic notes, or same thing on a piano when you walk up. Those are chromatic notes. So just the same way to describe 12 notes, because there's only 12. Oh, and this is why you need to buy a chromatic tuner as opposed to just a regular tuner. A chromatic tuner is going to tune all of them. It's going to tune A sharp, it's going to tune, you know, D flat, it's going to tune whatever, not just the standard tuning on a guitar, which is E, A, D, G, B, E. It's not just going to tune those. So if you ever want it to be in a different tuning, then you could do that. So probably a beginner would help to have just a regular tuner that only does standard tuning, but you know, why not go ahead and just buy a chromatic and learn now than having that expense down the road. Alright, so moving on, tuning your guitar. Like I already said, our guitar is the most common is called standard tuning. Obviously, standard tuning, the most common. And that works like this. I would think, in my brain, it works better to go from largest to smallest, but if you ever buy strings, they're numbered and they're also letters. So start from the highest, meaning like the highest pitch or the smallest string. This is string 1, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it's also, each string is tuned to a note. So they're tuned to E, B, G, D, A, E. And that's how I've got them listed on your sheet here. So that's something you need to know when you're tuning your guitar, or else it'll sound like this, or else it'll sound awful. So to play the different notes and things that we'll be talking about in this class, you'll want your guitar to be in that tuning. Alright, so that's through the first page. Second page here starts off with notes, chords, scales, and keys, and then what is the difference between them. A note is the individual pitch, like I was playing earlier, what a bass player would play. So this, what I was doing earlier, this is an A. But it's not an A chord. It's just an A, just the note, one note. So that's A. Now a chord is a bunch of notes put together. So like here is an A chord. Now that chord is made up of all of these notes individually that when put together make a chord. So that's that. Scales are different than chords because a scale is a bunch of different notes in a sequence. So like you'll probably recognize this. That is called the A major scale. It's still a bunch of different notes, but rather than them all being played at once, they're playing in a sequence together. And like we were talking about earlier, there's all different kinds of scales. There's major scales, minor scales, chromatic scales. You know, I never took a music theory class, so I don't know all the different ones. But anyways, like we were talking about chromatic earlier, so you could you could start on A and go all the way up to A, and that's called the A chromatic scale, I guess. Anyways, alright, and then keys we're going to talk about on a later video when we go through all of your chords. A key is a grouping of chords within the framework of a scale. So this will be easier to show you in G. So like a grouping of chords within the framework of scale. So the framework of the scale would be this. This is the G major scale. Now the chords you put into that will sound like that. So if I play really fast through the scales that you have for G, it's going to sound like this. So you can hear that. So that's the difference between notes, chords, scales, and keys. Alright, we're going to skip the chords, the different kinds of chords, because that's going to be in a video later. Using a capo. Let me get mine here. Okay, when you use a capo, it's a tool that shortens the length of your strings, makes everything higher, which makes it way easier to play in certain keys while using familiar chords. For example, the song, and I talk about this in the video, the song Jesus Paid It All, is played with G chords, which is the easiest way to play it anyways. There's not only one way to play a song. But the easiest way to play it is with G chords. But like G is way too low for me. So what I can do is I can capo. It's like right now the strings are going from here to there. So when I put the capo on, I'm going to put it on 4th fret here. See how it made everything higher and shortened the length of the string that you hear to this instead of this. So now I can play G chords, and it's higher, makes the key higher, makes it easier for me to sing it. So now, so like if you've got G down here, this is what it is for Jesus Paid It All. Which is really low for me. Like I said, you can bump it on 4 or wherever on the guitar, and now you're up here. Key entirely. So if you follow the half steps and whole steps, if you knew, alright, I know that I play it in G, but I want it to get to B, how do I do that? You can walk up the scale, or walk up the neck of the guitar with your capo. Think about it. So if you got open, then it's going to be G. Capo 1 is going to be G sharp, right? Going up 1/2 step. Capo 2 is going to be A. Capo 3, A sharp. Capo 4 is going to be B. So if I capoed 4 and played G chords, then it would be B. But I could keep going up. I could go up one more 1/2 step from 4 and from B, which would make playing G chords in C. One more 1/2 step, C sharp, one more D, and it would just keep going up until it gets ridiculous. So I could even do this.